Hi, can anybody hear me? This is Casey. I don't think I can hear anybody.
All right. Nice to meet you.
I'm one of her former teachers.
Take a seat.
Okay.
She was a
I
student
need
of
to-
mine.
Oh, you
and
need
she
to use the
wanted me to
restroom?
come
Yeah,
today.
because I need to.
So you work for this Washington
I don't
State
know
School
where
of
my- I don't know where my cane is, but
I did.
Here, if you want to grab my elbow, I can lead you.
'cause I know my support cane.
And I taught her everything
I'm
she
not sure
knows, so
where-
if she doesn't do it right, let her know.
I'm
Yeah.
not seeing where your cane is either.
Running just a couple minutes late.
I don't
Lakeisha's
see
gonna use the restroom and then we can get started.
Oh, duh.
All right, it's right in front of you.
Thanks.
There you go. Do you remember where the bathroom is?
No, I don't think I've.
Okay,
I
so
don't think
follow
I've-
me.
I don't think I've ever been there. I don't think.
So
Stay.
what is Trillium?
Stay.
So Trillium is a supported employment company. They work with people with disabilities to
So
find them
take
jobs.
a
Oh, okay.
So they'll find them a job and then
Are you guys able to hear us just fine? Good. Hey, Letice, can you do a little test to make sure you're heard?
Okay, testing.
Cool. Sorry for getting started a little late here, you guys. There's always some technical stuff to work through. But we'll go ahead and get started, Letice. So if you want to introduce yourself and your companion.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tice Harris, and right beside me is my grateful companion and guide dog named Score. He is a yellow lab, and Score is my second guide dog, but my first yellow lab.
And for those of you who don't know me, I'll lean down a little bit. I'm Ashton. I am Letice's job coach. We've been working together for about 2, maybe going on 3 years now. And the purpose of having Letice come and talk to us is that, just on my caseload alone, I have a couple of individuals who have some visual impairment. Letice is a little unique in that she's the only one that I work with that has a guide dog. And Letice is very passionate about advocating for guide dogs and for educating the public about how to properly interact with a guide dog. And I thought it'd be great information for her to teach everyone at Trillium about. So you ready to get started?
Sure.
So this is going to be sort of an interview style where I'll ask Letice some questions, and then please feel free to chime in if there's anything that's just racking your brain, or type it up and we can come back to it later. But there will be some time at the end for some questions as well.
Absolutely.
So Letice, you said that you got your guide dog Score here.
Yes.
About how long have you had him for?
Score and I've been a team for 4 years.
And about how old is he?
Score is 5.5. Score will be 6 tomorrow. June 8th is his birthday.
Do you have any fun plans for his birthday?
I'm not sure. I think I'm going to take him to Petco, I believe.
Awesome. And so Score isn't your first guide dog.
No, he's not.
Can you tell us a little bit about your last guide dog?
Yes. My last guide dog was a lab, but he was a black lab from Guide Dogs of America, which is in Seymour, California. And they are a very small school of about 8 to 12 students. And their program is 30 days. Some of the guide dog schools have 28 days. Some of them have 21 days. It just depends on their program. Emmett was also our lab, and Susan was his puppy raiser. And I had been with Emmett for 9 years. That was my very, very first guide dog.
So what can you talk about as far as how navigating the environment was like before having a guide dog and then after?
Well, before you can have a guide dog, one of the things that is a requirement is to have good cane skills, which is, people call it a stick, but it's really called a cane. It's got metal at the bottom. It's got sections in the middle. Some of them fold up, some of them are straight. And it's got a rubberized handle. Some of them have different tips. And so you really need to have really good orientation and training. That's where you are introduced to a O&M instructor, which is called mobility instructor, which will help you to know where you are, your landmarks, your directions, how to use the cane properly. Sometimes you'll get your cane stuck in potholes, but that's a very first thing that they will ask for when you get in a guide dog is, do you have good cane skills? Do you have good orientation skills? If not, you need to get some.
So how does SCORE help you where your cane does not help you?
Um, overhead limbs where this cane does not, because your cane is basically in contact with the surface. And sometimes if you're walking and you come across a car, your cane will either hit the side panel of the car or it will go underneath the wheels, and it probably, if you're not watching, will get run over. A dog will see the vehicle and hopefully he or she will stop to alert you that there is an obstacle in my way.
So guide dog, it sounds like, kind of fills in the gaps for you.
Correct.
Awesome. So
I have a quick question.
yeah, sure.
Letice, this is Christina. How does SCORE alert you? Like, is it with a noise or does he pull on you?
How does he alert me?
So you gave the example of coming up to a car. How does SCORE tell you to stop?
Oh, by the pull of the harness handle, I have the leash and the handle. And so that's the unique thing about having a guide dog and a harness, because a lot of your motion is in the harness handle. So when the dog stops, you can feel it. And if the dog turns, then you can feel that too. So when he starts abruptly, that tells me either something is in my way, or if not, I have to tell him hop up, which just means simply hop up. That means go forward a little bit at a time so that I know what's in front of me. And then I have to praise him and give him a kibble for that.
So it sounds like SCORE does help you out quite a bit as far as navigating goes. What are some challenges that you face with having a guide dog?
Well, I am challenged food encounters, which is people, thinking that the dog is hungry and they want to give the dog something to eat. Petting the dog while in harness, talking to the dog, whistling, making puppy sounds, getting me distracted. Those are the majority of things that we encounter every day. Although my dog is not supposed to answer to a lot of them. However, sometimes he will, because he is easily to be distracted. There are some guide dogs that nothing distracts them. And that's a good working team. However, it's still up to the owner to make sure that the dog is, one, paying attention to what they're doing, even though they are encountering obstacles or distractions. It keeps them focused and it keeps them working, because once they finish, their distraction, it's always great to stop, put the harness handle down, and praise him by saying, "Good dog, good Juno, good boy, you did well," and then kibble that, because the dogs live in the moment. They don't remember what they've done. So you got to catch it while it's there, good or bad.
Yeah, Latisse, you and I, we've gone to the mall several times so that I could observe you interacting. And the mall is something that you're very familiar with, but there are times where Score seems like he is getting quite a bit distracted.
Yes. Yeah. And the mall is a great place for distraction, obedience, people distractions. You know, there's so many smells and different things in the mall that will, the dogs, of course, if you're talking about labs, you know, the food is their middle last name. And so you take them into a restaurant, you take them into, um, oh, a store that has food, they they work hard and it's very difficult for them to get past a certain smell. But once they pass that, you praise the heck out of that because that is a great reward. If they can work through that, they are happy.
So I've had the opportunity to see a lot of people in the public come up and either see Score or want to engage with Score.
Mhm.
If somebody wanted to meet Score, what should they do?
Well, first of all, they probably should. The right way to do it is to ask, to say, "Hey, Latisse, ma'am, may I pet your guide dog?" And it's up to the owner, yes or no. A lot of the guide dogs love to be petted, which is great because they like the attention. But there are going to be some times where the answer will be no. Please don't be offended if the answer is no, because we might be catching a bus or we might be in a hurry or whatever. But to keep the guide dogs focused, sometimes the answer would be 95% of the time keep its focus so that he or she doesn't get distracted, you know. But they do love their pets and that tail will wag.
So how do people who see Score know that he's not working?
And that's a good question. Um, you know, there's pets and there's guide dogs. Well, when Score has this harness on, come, sit, sit. This is Score's harness. So when he's got this harness on, that's his clothes. That's just like when you get ready to go to work, you know, you put on nice clothes, or you wear a suit, a tie. You know, if you're in the office, sometimes you might wear a skirt and a blouse or whatever. You know, this is Score's clothes. So he's got the harness, he's got the handle, and he's got the leash. So when we go home, and the harness comes off, he's done. He's done his duty. He's done his work. He's done for the day. That means he gets to rest. He gets to play. He gets to chew on his bones. And that relieves stress. If the dog is stressed, because they work very, very hard. And they got a stressful job. And so in order for them to keep focus and to release stress, they can chew on their bone. They got different toys that they play with, or he just wants to just lay around just chilling and just be him. But treats are off limits because they are working and there are a certain amount of food, because he's a guide dog and there's certain things that he cannot have. And so some treats will be too harsh on their stomachs. And so it's not a good idea just to give the dog whatever you have. You must ask the owner if it's okay if I may give the dog a bone or something, because they may have some kind of allergic reaction. And one allergic reaction that Score has is to wheat. So he is on a high variety of food, which requires no wheat, brown rice and chicken every day. So he gets he gets 3.5 cups a day because he's a big dog.
So one of the things that I've had the opportunity to see is you asking for assistance
Yes.
when you're navigating.
Yes.
What are some of your experiences in trying to get help navigating when you and Score are having difficulty finding a destination?
Well, one of the things that, and goes back to orientation and training. If you know where you want to go, for instance, if you need to go north or south, first of all, you need to know what street you need to cross. If you're outside the mall or you're going home, you need to know what bus you need to take. For instance, you need to know the cross street's name. You know, if the street, for instance, if there's a truck in the way or they're doing construction, that's dangerous for anybody. And so sometimes we'll wait and we'll ask, somebody will come up and say, hey, there's construction on this side. Where do you need to go? And that's where you need to say, I need to go on the north side. Can you let me take your arm? That would be called sighted guide. Or I would just say simply, I'll have my dog to follow you. Now, if you are in the mall and you need to get to a specific store, and you know what store you need to go to, sometimes because the mall is kind of that it's open and there's things in the way, there's different stores, and you may get lost, and so you may end up asking a security guard or somebody, hey, I need to get to this store. How can I get there? Oh, just go straight ahead. Well, straight ahead is not really the terms that will help a blind person to navigate. It's really better if we say left or right, or if you feel comfortable, may I take your arm? Sometimes people don't want you to take their arm, but you know what? That's too bad because that's how we navigate. And if they don't want me to take their arm, then I need to find somebody else who is willing to accommodate that.
Can you talk a little bit about the difference as someone who is being navigated? How does it feel different for you taking somebody's arm versus if they try to just lead you by their hand?
The proper way is it's proper etiquette. It's proper as a proper way of guiding anyone with low vision. Taking by the hand is not a good, because you may end up hitting something. You may end up tripping over something. The thing to do is when you want to grab someone's arms is come up from here and have them to grab your elbow, just below the elbow, and with your hand is cupped, and have them follow behind so that when the person stops, you can feel that. It's kind of sort of like the guide dog. And that's something that I did prior to getting a guide dog, is do what's called a Juno walk. And that is kind of like a sighted guide because they're leading you. So it's up to them to stop and give you a moment to find whatever it is, if it's a curve or a down curve or up curve, and say, there's a curve. Okay, I'm gonna step. No, you don't need to tell I'm gonna step up, but it is helpful. And then going through the doorway, if the door is narrow, you must kind of bring your arm back just enough for the person to go inside, drop, and then continue on.
So you had talked a little bit about how saying straight ahead wasn't good directions for you. What are some other terms that are not good directions for you?
That way.
This way.
This way, that way, over there, up there. We don't have vision enough to see what's over there. So sometimes you may see is when you say over there, we may go like this, over there or over there. And that really irritates people because it tells them, wait a minute, I'm telling her over there, she's pointing. Oh, I better tell them left or right because that's really gonna help that person to navigate better.
And I can say as your job coach that when I've tried to show you how to do something that I've gotten lost in the habit of saying, that paper that's right there. And if you just hold it like this, then it'll work. And you're really great at letting me know that I'm not being specific enough.
Yeah, and you're not the only one. So a lot of sighted people, they do that, and it's just a habit, unless they've been through that same thing with their person. It's kind of like if you close your eyes, you'd be like, oh gosh, I never thought about it that way. But we're just normal people living a normal life. The only difference is that we cannot see. We see with our hands, we see with our ears, we feel with our feet, and that's how we navigate to where we need to go. It's okay to ask, may I help you? It's okay to be afraid. It's okay to not know. Please ask. There's no stupid questions asked. If you wanted to know about being blind, ask the questions. No, nothing is stupid, nothing silly. We will answer any questions that any sighted person may have.
That's great. One thing that when you were talking about how you had Emmett before and now you have Score, that I think is important to talk about is that you don't always own your dog. Is that right?
That is correct. So here's this. So you can own your dog if you want to. That's given an opportunity, and that's just another thing. Nothing will change when you have ownership. Okay. Now let me just say that Guide Dogs for the Blind has a supportive, they're unique. Let's just put it that way. They have a very unique department that specializes in everything, and ownership, financial support. And so it's up to you if you want to own that dog. That's totally on you. That's totally up to you. You don't have to, but that's an opportunity. That's there if you want it. Nothing will change if you want to own a dog. Okay, there's just a couple of paperwork to just fill out, and the school will help you even if you own that dog with financial support. And it's a great opportunity to really bond with your dog. Guide Dogs for the Blind is the only school that has a financial support system. This means that when the dog needs to go to the vet, they have some amount of money that they will give you a month or a year, depending on what the dog needs. And then that money, they give you a number, and you'll take that number and you take that to the vet, and they do have papers, so you need to fill out the number so that you can be reimbursed for whatever financial medications that the dog may end up. If they have to go through surgery, this is the department to ask, how much do you get? It depends on what the dog needs. And when you go to the doctor, I find that it's best to go to the doctor first and then find out what the dog needs before you call the guide dog school so that they can see how much money they can give you. And it's a very good support. I am very pleased with how Guide Dog School, the Guide Dogs for the Blind, has interacted with Score and I, even if it's something little silly stuff. They're always there to lend a hand and to ask any questions. But here's the thing, they want you to be as independent as you were when you had your cane. This is a dog. This is your eyes. This is your responsibility. And they take it. They say it's your responsibility, and we believe that since you graduated, that it's your responsibility for everything. We're here to help you when you need us, but they would rather you try to figure out the problem and the solution as accurately as you can, as fast as you can. If you cannot, if it's behavioral problems, you need to call the guide dog school and say, I've tried this and I need somebody to come out to help. And the only thing, if the dog is, for instance, if the dog is crossing crooked or stopping in the middle of the intersection, that's very dangerous. So that has to be corrected. If that is not corrected by you or the school, then that dog must go back, because it's a dangerous situation so that you don't get hurt.
So there's a question that someone typed in when we were talking about the types of directions that help. Someone asked, in the mall, is it helpful if someone were to tell you that the store is in the direction you're going, say 100 feet ahead on the left?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But I want to bring up something here that we haven't talked about is, guide dogs need direction and they need exercise. So every day is called obedience, okay? Obedience is a quick way of getting their attention, and that just simply says to tell them you can do sit down how many times you want, down stay with the leash, and make that leash as long as you can. I don't know if I can do that. I probably can, just to show you.
You can go ahead and try. Yeah.
Go on. Let me see her.
The left area is a little bit more open for you.
They take the harness off over their head. Let's put this harness right. Okay. I know. So what I'm doing is I'm having my dog on the left side. Now, sometimes if we have problems with the left or the right, depends on the dog. So that at that time, they could be trained to go to either side. Score is normally on my left, so I have the leash. And so right now, good boy, Score is sitting. I'm reaching into this pocket here is my treat supplies, and I'm giving him one kibble. Okay, now I'm going to take the leash and I'm going to hook it so it'll be a long leash. I'm going to come in front of him and I'm going to call him. And he's supposed to listen for my command. Score here. Score here. Nice, good. And I praise him for that. I give him a kibble. Okay. Score down. Good boy. Stay. And you're done. You don't have to do the whole thing, just enough for them to get to listen, just enough for him to listen. I found it, thank you. Down. Good job. Awesome.
So one thing that I like that you talked about is you talked about how their Score is a dog. He has his own personality.
Yes.
What your expectations are.
Yes.
So what are your expectations when you go out into the public with Score?
Okay, my expectations are you need to do the task that is provided for you. You are a guide dog. I understand you are a dog. That's okay. And you need to do what I asked you to do. If you do not, you will not get a kibble. You won't get a praise. You won't get anything. And the other thing is, if he's not doing what I want him to do, and he's being goofy or silly or just plain dumb, that's what I'm saying. You just don't talk, don't interact with the dog. You make that dog sit. Now, let me just say that most of the guide dog schools are getting away from hard corrections, and I don't like the hard corrections, which is pulling upward with the leash. My thing is, to get their attention better, it's better to do what's called timeout. Just like you having timeout with your children. Score gets timeout by him standing or sitting, and I'm just standing and not looking at him. That's hard. That's better than a correction. However, sometimes it's needed. And sometimes that's where people draw the line, is because they don't like to see their dog being pulled. It's not to hurt the dog, it's to tell the dog that he or she needs to get it together. Okay? And no, he doesn't like it, and sometimes he'll pout for a little bit, but then he's good. And the other thing is, people misconception of a muzzle versus a gentle lead. A gentle lead is something that goes it goes around the neck, and it has a little ring at the mouth part that just goes around the mouth and the back of the head and around the nose part, so that the dog can still breathe, but you are getting control. It is a gentle lead so that if he or she is sniffing, you can gently lift their head to where you need them to do. And it's not to hurt the dog. However, the dogs don't like it because it's not normal. It's not their normal thing. They don't like anything on their feet. They do not like anything on their face. And so even when we're out on a hot day You gotta protect their dog's paws. They are called booties, and they don't like that, but it's to protect them from splinters.
I have a question. This is
Yeah.
Christina again, Latisse. Do you think it's best for people that know Score? I know you talked about people not talking to him, but even greeting him. I know sometimes when you guys come into the office, I know I've said hello to Score just out of habit, but do you think that that's not helpful? Does it help just to distract him?
It's not good. However, if the dog can remain focused, he's done his job and he gets a reward for that. Sometimes it isn't okay. Some dogs are, they are so, they don't concentrate well enough, so the owner will say, please don't talk to my dog, because it really does distract them. Because Score is a very distracting dog sometimes, and he's very, I guess his feelings hurt too. So if he can look at you and go, that, oh, okay, I'm good, mom. Okay, I'm good with that. But when he starts to back up and starts going to that person, that's to me is, you're not doing it. But we mean business. So when I tell Score to knock it off, that means knock it off. Or I switch the words from come to here, because he responds better when I say Score here. He responds better when I say focus, especially in a restaurant. He gets distracted easy, so I have to be 2 steps in front of him, always thinking about what he's gonna do next. Gotta be on guard.
So we have about 15 minutes left. Does anybody else out there in Zoom land have any other questions for Latisse?
I have a question. I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit about your vocational goals and how does your dog fit into that? What are your expectations? How, if you go to work for 3 or 4 hours, does he kind of just sit around and then you need to take him out to the restroom, or how does it work? And what kind of work are you working now? Are you looking for work? Lots of questions.
Hey, let me just say that we are looking for work at this point. Our goal is to find work that is suitable for me, which is office related work. Yes, you pack up your dog like you pack up anything else. Now, for me, I have to take a backpack. I have to take water. I have to take extra, maybe extra kibble, extra food, white, baby wipes if need, if he's sick, and harness, poop bags, things like that. And we get on the bus because we have public transportation, either with C-Man or C-Tran, either or, and we get on that bus and we're off. Well, when we get to a destination, then if it's a new one, then I'll say, hey, where's the door? Okay, Score, find the door, good boy. And we go inside. Now, if it's an office that I don't know inside, there may be somebody there that can explain to me, how the buildings lay out, where's the restroom, we also need to find where's the best place to relieve. I like that word relieve, because you're relieving the dog. And yes, the dog must go out 3 or 4 times a day, depending on how he or she can hold it. No more than that. Um, because you got to release some of that stuff, and so we got to find a good place, mainly on dirt or in grass. And just take off the harness and let the dog walk around in a circle and let him or her do their duty. And then, if we need to find the garbage can, then that's an opportunity for him to find the garbage can and have a special place for the dog. You may end up having their bone. You may end up having their favorite blanket, or you may end up getting them a crate, depending on the situation. And he or she is fine, but you still got to do your job. If you're an office clerk, you still got to make sure that your dog is okay, and make it your job, and make sure the dog is not stressed.
Can I add in a little bit of information as well?
Yes.
So a lot of as far as like work related, so Leticia is looking for an office position, more so not necessarily just the office tasks, but more of the environment. So a lot of consideration for SCORE is being taken into account in the types of places that we go and do JD at, meaning that because Letice will need to get mobility instruction for any new place, then that's negotiating out a start date a little bit longer than what it might be for someone else, just so that she can get some navigational training. Making sure that the location that it's at does have somewhere where there is grass, or somewhere where she can take her dog that is going to be safe for her and for SCORE. Also looking at like building setup, there's a few employers that we currently have where you can walk in any day of the week and the entire layout of the office has changed yet again. Talking with businesses up front about whether or not the layout changes. And then it also comes into play with the size of the team that Letice wants, and how much interaction that she wants with other people. So where she might want an office environment where she has a small team of 5 or 6 people, we are also aiming for businesses that don't have a lot of high traffic as far as like customers go. So then she knows who's going to potentially be coming in contact with SCORE and can keep track, make sure that he's not being handled inappropriately by anybody else.
Yeah. And I want to mention too, we haven't mentioned, Steve Van has what's called a travel trainer, and there's 2. Veronica is the overseer, I would call her. That's what to me she is. And her job is to make sure that everything is going smoothly, that if you were to transfer to another bus, to kind of make sure that you get on the right bus, make sure that you get you cross correctly, or if there's any bus changes, to alert me, and for her to help in that area. If Steven has to take me to somewhere, make sure that I have the right buses, and make sure that that I don't run into any difficulties getting on and off the bus. And also when I get on the bus, making sure that there's enough room for my guide dog, because these buses, sometimes you can't get your dog underneath the seat. So the dog has to sit between your knees. And that's a little awkward for you and the dog, but sometimes it needs to happen. So that's kind of what Veronica's job is. And she's got some teams that works with her as well.
Mm-hmm. And Matt in Zoom on the comment, thank you for pointing that out, because it is different for other counties, is that CVAN is Clark County's local door-to-door public transit. And then we also have C-Tran, which is our public transit. Are there any other questions? Is there, so not to point out the people sitting in the back, but is there anything that you guys have to contribute? Veronica, that was Lisa talking about, is sitting right behind her as well.
Yes.
Is there anything you'd like me to add?
Yeah, you can just go right ahead.
Is there anything specific that you'd like her to talk about, or just
Anything that I missed, or your particular job title? Yeah.
Okay, so my name is Veronica, and I work for C-Tran, which is the local public transportation agency, and I'm a travel trainer. And Jade is here as well. She's our other travel trainer. And I guess our part in helping Latisse out, whether it be employment or just navigating the community, is we'll go with her and help make sure that SCORE is, doing what he needs to do to find a bus stop or find a shelter or boarding, deboarding a bus, whether it be our regular fixed route system or the CVAN, the paratransit door-to-door system. I see Kitsap County, and I'm not sure what other county you guys are in.
Pierce?
Okay, so King, Pierce, and Kitsap all have travel training programs available for you guys to help bring in some more support for anybody, whether they're visually impaired or any other disability. They're there to also help with learning how to access and use any sort of public transportation.
Veronica, how would somebody go about accessing that service?
I believe all of those services are, except for King County, are ran through the transit agency. So Kitsap County Transit, Pierce Transit, all have travel trainers within the agency, so you just have to call them. The services are free. They're one-on-one, and they're based on the individual's needs. It's very much like job coaching. Back in my life before transit, I worked for a supported employment company as a program manager, and the same skills that we used in teaching a person how to complete a task is the same thing that we use in teaching somebody how to use transit. Whether it be a different, whatever style training or training that works for them, whether it be more visual, more maybe written down, or more tactile, whatever it is, we do the same thing. We do the fading exactly the same as you would teaching somebody a job. It's really the same skills, but we just tune it into transit instead and navigating the community.
Now you may see an iPhone. Now I have an iPhone too, and one of the things that is helpful is called Be My Eyes app or Soundscape. And what Soundscape does is if you turn it on, if you're walking to a destination, it will tell you what direction you're facing. It will tell you how far away the building is. It will tell you if you're crossing that parking lot or street, what name the street is, so that you can, as an individual, be more independent so that you can get to where you're going. And it helps. So if you get lost, you can call C-Tran and say, hey, I'm at this location and I missed my bus, or what time did the bus come? So that they can pull it up on their end and say, oh, okay, you need to be on the opposite side, which is south. So just go ahead and get on this next bus and tell the driver where you need to get off at, and you'll be on the same side of the street.
There's also a couple of other apps that really help. Google Transit
Yes.
and Move It are also really
Yes.
good apps to use. Both of those apps also include auditory alerts. So it will, when you plug in what your trip is, it will alert you when you're at your bus stop. When we're about 3 bus stops away from where you want to get off, 2 stops away, 1 stop away, and then again when you're at your stop. And all of those alerts sound just a little bit different, so that you don't necessarily have to read what that alert is telling you. You can tell by the way that which sound it is. And I find it very helpful.
That's awesome. Well, in the interest of everybody's time, we're coming up on 1 o'clock. So I just want to remind everybody that this will be recorded. In addition to the video being on Zoom, Latice had brought with her some different brochures that are from the Guide Dog School for the Blind. We'll get those scanned in and put into the same folder that the Zoom recording will be in on the server, so you guys can check those out. And if you have any questions that might pop up later, if you have another client that might have a guide dog or just need some assistance with working, feel free to shoot them to me and I can connect you with Latice to help you out.
And one thing that we didn't talk about is the process that goes into the process of getting a guide dog. It does take some time to do that, and it does take time for these dogs as well. So the process can take up to either 1 month to 6 months waiting time, and then they look at all the things that you got, which is your health history, doctor's eyes, whatever. And they take all that and they go to another place where it's the company or the school has a team that looks over the pamphlet that you submitted, and then it goes to the submitting people, and then they take it from there. If they see that everything that they requested is there, then the process is call her for a home interview. And so from the home interview, if everything goes well, which means just walking around your neighborhood to let the person know, which is your field rep, to see whether this is going to be good for you or not, then that also goes back to the school, and then it gets reviewed again. And then if they say yes, then you will get a phone call and a letter stating you have been accepted into this program, and this is the time and date that we have available. Can you do it? Most of the time, if you are out of town, you will be airplaned to the facility, or if you have a transporter, which is your family will drive you to the facility and leave you for. And Guide Dogs for the Blind is 2 weeks. Now, when you go back for your second dog, it's only a week.
Hey, Latice, I hate to cut you off because I know you have a lot of information, but we only allotted an hour for doing the training. So if there's more information that
Sure.
you'd like to cover, then you can send that to me and I can make sure it gets stuck in with our video.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Yep.
All right.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Latice.
You're welcome. Have a good day.